It's 2011, and Nintendo's new console is dying. The 3DS, the successor to Nintendo's highest selling console, the DS, had just launched. Expectations were at an all-time high, and while day one sales broke records, by the second week, they had flatlined.
This immediately set off alarms at Nintendo, with the company amping up its marketing strategy to prop up sales.
But none of this helped. Things took a turn for the worse when in Japan, the PSP, a 6-year-old console, began outselling it. The 3DS remained on life support until Nintendo did the unthinkable. On July 28th, Nintendo announced that their 4-month-old console would be getting a big price cut. The price was dropped from $250 to $170, a massive 32% decrease. This would finally save the 3DS, but at a cost. The company's leadership would take steep salary cuts, and the 3DS would now be sold at a loss.
It was during this time that Nintendo was working on its next console, the Wii U.
The Wii U was meant to have the strengths of the Wii and 3DS without their noted weaknesses. They even went as far as removing stereoscopic 3D from prototypes following the 3DS's struggles. The final version was a home console with a tablet controller. Much to everyone's excitement, it was Nintendo's first console to support HD gaming. After years of criticism over the Wii's 2001-era graphics and motion controls, Nintendo was finally on an even ground with its competitors, and while the tablet controllers certainly looked unique, it functioned very similar to a traditional controller. This was Nintendo's moment. Everything they had learned from their prior failures had been addressed, and on November 18, 2012, they released the Wii U to the world.
Right out of the gates, the Wii U completely sold out at launch. But something was wrong.
By January 2013, Nintendo had already cut its sales projections, noting sluggish sales. This sales trend would continue throughout the year, with third-party publishers announcing a reduction of games being developed for Wii U. And on January, Nintendo revised their fiscal 2014 sales forecast from 9 million to 2.8 million. By March, the then new PS4 had already exceeded worldwide Wii U sales. It was at this point that the Wii U's future was called into question.
As the Wii U continued to bleed market share, Nintendo worked on a plan B.
The Wii U had turned into another flop. Clearly, something was still missing. The company desperately took a look into the Wii U's failures, such as its struggles gaining third-party game support, and complaints regarding how far from the console the tablet controller could travel while still being able to be played. Their solution? Design the Switch as a mobile device, eliminating the range issues. They also started using more standard components such as Nvidia's Tegra chipset in order to make game creation easier for devs. Nintendo aggressively sought the support of many third-party publishers to help flesh out the Switch library before launch. Meanwhile, they were starving the Wii U of unannounced games and stockpiling them for the Switch. As a result, the Switch's first year was packed with first-party games, such as The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 2, and Super Mario Odyssey, all in the hope that gamers could not ignore Nintendo's new console.
And payoff it did. The Nintendo Switch had an amazing launch, selling out in several markets.
Zelda also proved to be a fantastic console seller, with the game selling more copies than the Switch hardware itself. Nintendo was off to a great start, beating their own sales expectations handsomely. As the year went on, the Switch kept accumulating bangers, ending the year with Super Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 further fueling the sales train. Finally, it looked like they had cracked the formula, something they had struggled with for the last 6 years. But within the shadow of their success, something else brewed.
The Switch being a recent, developer-friendly system, provided devs with the ability to port more modern games to the platform.
High-profile releases like Doom led credence to this belief. But by 2018, we started seeing cracks in the Switch's potential, as big Switch games would launch with less performance and features. Players took to complaining online that the Switch couldn't handle modern games. As games started being developed to run on Xbox One X and PS4 Pro, they started to struggle running on the base Xbox One and PS4. This meant the Switch version would run even worse, or not at all. Games like The Outer Worlds and Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered started to show the limitations of the hardware. By 2020, Nintendo was secretly working on a more powerful version of the Switch that fans called the Switch Pro. But the pandemic and resulting chip shortage caused Nintendo to internally shelve the project, leaving the Switch with no other option to run games well.
Oh, but it does not end there. On November 2020, the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles launched, setting a new standard for visuals and performance.
A standard the humble Switch could never reach. As the years went on, the number of AAA games coming to Switch dwindled, and the games that did arrive were often crippled or barely functioning versions. EA, for example, flat out stopped releasing new FIFA games on the platform, instead opting for legacy editions. By the time the chip shortage would be tapering off, the Switch would already be 6 years old, making the Switch Pro a product that's too little, too late. In the end, Nintendo had no choice but to ride out the later years of the console with these issues unresolved. The company would later announce declining Switch sales due to its age. Unfortunately for many, the Switch has become a Nintendo and small indie games machine, something that betrays the original promise of the Switch. But the future need not be so dark. The successor to the Switch is currently under development, and if Nintendo learned as much from the Switch as they learned from the 3DS and Wii U, this may be Nintendo's best console yet. Subscribe and like this video if you want more, and follow my Twitter below.